Hey everyone, welcome into another electrifying episode of Geek Garage podcast. I'm your host as per usual, David. This is episode number 58, if you can't do numbers correctly. Today we're going to be talking about The Office. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds terrible. And you know what?
You're right. No, wait, sorry. No, that wasn't my cue. I'm sorry.
No, actually, Ted, that was quite appropriate. Ha! You get that pull? That's from The Office. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna dive right back in. So there is little new to be said about The Office because it has been around for quite a while. However, one of my good friends who is joining us today just watched it for the first time. I'm going to introduce her here in just a moment. But first, we have some usual stuff to cover first. So, Ted, would you like to hit us up with some info on our events, or lack thereof, I should say?
Yes, that is in fact correct because it's done. It's over. Everything is canceled. But jokes aside, literally everything is canceled. EvilCon, MomoCon, Nashville Comic Con, and AkaiCon have all been postponed until 2021 as a result of the ongoing issues surrounding coronavirus or COVID-19. All of them have released official statements or quasi-official statements, but basically all boiled down to the same reasons, like I said, corona and safety concerns.
Yep.
MTAC has been postponed and not yet rescheduled, but if I were a betting man, and my degenerate gambling addiction says I am, I would say it's probably going to be postponed until 2021 as well, although that's not any insider info there.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
We do have an upcoming blog that we're starting up on the Geek Garage podcast website called Comic Corner or Comics Corner or something that I don't remember. None of this matters. It will be about comics that David and I have been reading that we enjoyed. And possibly some that we did not enjoy, just because it's fun to make fun of things you don't like.
It's true.
It is. That will be debuting here sometime in the month of June. We're not exactly sure, 100% sure when yet, but it will be sooner rather than later. We also have the Facebook group page, Fans of the Geek Garage podcast. Catchy name, that. Feel free to join and talk about the podcast with the other 4 people that listen. But actually we do have a lot of people on the page, more than listen, which is weird. But definitely we throw up some polls and different things like that to get some conversation going. And of course, all of you who are nerds or geeks or whatever you choose to identify as, half of the fun of being a nerd or a geek is yelling at other nerds or geeks for their wrong opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, come check that out. That is Fans of the Geek Garage podcast Facebook group page. Also, we have our 2020 Q2 listener assessment for those of you that do not speak corporate. That is second quarter 2020, because this is the second quarter of the year. How perfect is that?
I mean, it's fitting, right?
Yes.
Like, it totally makes sense.
Apropos.
Mind blown.
Yes. That is going on through June the 7th. There will be, everyone that responds will be thrown into a hat. Literally, we will come kidnap you and put you in a hat.
Right. We have standing by, we have a giant hat that we're just going to throw you into.
It came at a great cost. Not going to be worth it.
And we're not even talking money here.
No. It was
goat blood.
Yes, a lot of it. Tons, in fact. Literal gallons.
Yes.
That is running through June the 7th. Like I said, basically it's just questions that we would like you, the listeners, to answer, such as why. What do you get out of this?
Why?
Genuine curiosity there. But if you would like to check that out, we will be taking the names of all the respondents and drawing them out of a hat. The winner will get a free t-shirt. God knows why you'd want one, but that's what you get. We have the Patreon that has started officially, and we even have a few people that have become patrons because they have more money than brains, apparently. But that's, hey, thank you. God bless you for that.
Yes.
In fact, God bless you. I think it's like $2 a month or something. There's a couple different tiers.
Yep.
It definitely does not get spent on cocaine. I can guarantee that. He said, unfortunately, without a hint of irony. I believe that about covers it, other than the introduction of our guest, who I'm sure is rapidly deciding this was a terrible idea.
By the look on her face, it seems like she's more entertained than anything.
Then she's making a terrible mistake. So, Amanda, I'm not going to say your last name because I don't know how into that you would be, but apparently you go by the name Frack.
Yes.
Which I'm
Yes,
guessing makes you a big fan of Battlestar Galactica.
You would think, but I've actually never seen an episode. Haha, guess what's next on my to-do list?
Is it watch Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, there you go. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
You know, let's take this time to officially introduce Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank you for coming back. Of course, you were on episode number 39. It was Welcome to the Black Friday Parade, where we talked about My Chemical Romance getting back together. And apparently that episode wasn't enough to scare you away permanently to the point where you'd be like, fuck that, I'm never doing that ever again. Like, even though he's one of my best friends of all time, I'm never going back there. So I appreciate the fact that none of that happened.
I would just like to point out that David has a very high opinion of his friendship.
Yep. It's kind of like your opinion of the podcast in general. So we're all on the same even, playing ground.
Well, I mean, it does wax and wane pretty drastically. Like, 1 minute I'm like, it's the greatest show on earth. And then the next minute I'm like, why would anyone fucking waste their time with this shit at all?
David, I gotta be honest with you. You are a bad liar. No one has ever thought this is the greatest show on earth or any other planet. Or even good, for that matter. I don't know.
Hence the waxing and waning. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
But yes, Amanda, thank you so much for coming back on. And yeah, like I was kind of hinting at the beginning of this episode, you just recently finished watching The Office.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to get your opinion on some things. It's a fresh perspective. So we are going to dive into all that right after the music, starting now. All right, Amanda, you ready to do this thing?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Awesome. So, for everyone out there, spoiler alert. Like,
you've had 15 years,
right? We feel like this doesn't necessarily need to be said, but we're not.
Snape kills Dumbledore. Oh shit! No, hold on. That's hold on.
It's okay. He already said spoiler alert, so you're good.
You're right.
It's fine.
Fair game.
Yeah. So yes, we are going to be talking about specifics.
Dwight kills Dumbledore.
Yeah, everyone dies at the end.
Yes. Turns out, Haley Joel Osment dead the whole time. Jim and Dwight, same person. Never saw it coming.
Right.
Actually, you did. You saw it early on.
Jim's not Asian. Oh, hats off to you for not seeing race. It started out great. Okay.
I'm sorry, David. I will stop interrupting you for at least the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, I believe that. So yeah, there will be spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the show, first of all, correct that. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Go watch the show and then come back and listen to this podcast episode, or don't. I'm not a beggar. And then, so like I was saying in the pre-roll intro, there really isn't much new that can be said about The Office, because it's been on since what like 2003, 2004 is when it aired. Ted, that sound about right?
Yeah, 04, 05, something like that.
Yeah, and it concluded in like 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
Early 2010s. So yeah, it's been around for a while. There's been several billion articles on the internet written about it. There's been YouTube channels galore. There's the Office Ladies podcast. There's just so much shit out there that is covering the show So there's really not much new that we can talk about. And I know what you're thinking, like, so why do a fucking episode about? Because it's the goddamn Office. Like, it's the best show on TV. So that's why we're doing it. And plus,
Also,
like,
we have literally nothing better to do. So
that's also part of it. Yes.
Everything's been canceled. Watch The Office. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, like we've already watched The Office several thousand times, so now we're just going to talk about it. And plus, like I said in the intro, it was Amanda's first time watching it, and we wanted a fresh perspective, like someone that, like, I mean, it blew my mind when she texted me. She was like, "So I finally watched The Office in its entirety for the first time," and I was like, "Wait, like."
Did we just
you
time
haven't
travel?
seen The Office, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what gave me the idea to do this episode. We did do an episode a few years ago, back in the early days of the podcast. I had a friend, Katie, come on, but that was more like comparing Parks and Rec to The Office, and because they're basically written and created by the same showrunners. So it seemed appropriate to kind of compare and contrast during that episode. But this episode is 100% straight The Office. So with that all said, Frack, question: which bear is best? False. Black bear. Ted, which bear is best?
it's the black bear.
He said reluctantly after I already gave the right answer, the quote unquote right answer. Actually, here's something that's going to light a fire under Ted's ass. On a scale from.
I was going to say, if you don't mind, let me take this one because this is very on brand for me.
Go for it.
But also, I would like to say that there may not be any new takes, but I can promise there will be at least one hot take. Right.
Yeah. There's actually I have some down towards the bottom, some unpopular opinions that we could bring up later on, but I feel like we could also dive into this right now.
Yes, this will be a recurring theme on this podcast. What I'm about to bring up.
Yeah.
On a scale of 10 to 10, how terrible is Pam? Just in general.
Amanda.
I want you to really think about this before you answer, and note that I did not give a second option as to what her score would be because it's a solid 10. She's the worst.
Now Ted tends to think of things a little differently than like most people.
Yes,
Right.
That's one way of putting it. I prefer to think of it as correctly, but sure.
He also has a very high opinion of himself, but then again, that kind of ties it back into like the whole waxing and waning thing, where like he'll say that 1 second and then next second he'll be like, none of this matters, my opinion, and it's garbage. So with all that said, what we want to know is how you feel about Pam.
It waxes and wanes.
Yeah.
That's the theme we're going with. Like in the
From
beginning, you're
9
like
to 10. I'm not understanding.
yeah.
So like a 9.25.
It's more like a 7 to a 10 scale.
Okay.
Of how much,
By the end
she's
of this
just
episode,
okay.
By the end of this episode, you will see the light.
Ted had
I think season 9 did that for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you didn't have enough of Pam up until the last season, then you definitely had enough at that point in time. Like Ted, I think it was the first time we ever really got on the topic of The Office, and he just had this whole tirade about how fucking wrong Pam was, and
We'll get there.
Yeah, and I was like, how can you think that? Like she's a talented artist, and like she hooks up with Jim, and they get married, and they have kids. Like it's not a fairy tale, but like, hey, it's some, and like he broke it down for me, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like my life is a lie.
Yes, I live to convert people to the light and the truth. But like I said, we'll get to that. There's plenty of time to talk about how awful Pam Beasley is as a human being. Moving on to some of the good parts of the show, David.
Right. Okay. So,
Everything not Pam.
okay. So
pretty much, yeah.
Amanda, you said you had some notes and then you promptly threw them in the garbage.
And I just
in the
completely
digital
fucking
garbage.
forgot them. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So, overall thoughts. What did you think of the show?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was everything that everybody said it was going to be, and then some. Because I
Okay.
didn't believe it. Because The Office came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is what you said. This is great." And I'm like,
You
"Oh,
thought it
was
just got
stupid.
too
I don't get it.
overhyped
It's
and
fine,
it
whatever."
couldn't live up to the hype.
And 15 years later, here I am, like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's so good." Yeah, no, I loved it. It was great.
So, did you have a favorite of the relationships, like either Michael and Holly, or Jim and Pam, Dwight and Angela, anyone else?
Dwight and Angela,
As number one?
Andy and nobody. Yeah, Andy and nobody.
Andy and his porn sporting is my pick,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. I'm not.
Andy
I'm on the
deserves to die
Andy
alone.
train, like Ted's on the Pam train.
I respect that.
And there's
Andy's also
moments,
terrible.
that I'm like, all right, you're cool, Andy. I can take this. But 99% of the time, like,
You want to punch him in the fucking neck, right?
oh my god.
If I were in a
Jesus.
room with Pam and Andy and I had a gun with 2 bullets, I would shoot each of them and live happily ever after.
That's another good pull, another
Yes.
callback. Yes, to
My references are out of control. I'm aware.
Yeah, so Angela and Dwight 1, Holly and Michael 2.
I'm actually more of a Holly and AJ guy personally, but I thought they really had something there.
Yes, their
Ted's
relationship dynamic was palpable.
Yes.
Yeah.
For that,
Just-
episode and a half.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Where he was like with her for about a total of 14 minutes of screen time,
Yes.
maybe.
In 4 seasons, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Angela and Sprinkles counts as a relationship, right?
Yes.
Like, they're
And I
still
think
above
that-
Jim and Pam, in my opinion.
That's
Yeah.
true love. Angela
So-
wanted to save Bandit from a fire, okay? She risked her life for that. That's love.
right. That's
Save
right.
Bandit! Pull me up! You're too heavy. I only weigh 82 pounds. That's what this episode is going to boil down to.
Yeah,
It's just
pretty
all
much.
of us quoting the fucking
Yeah,
show.
pretty much.
Just
Fun fact, tangentially related. David and I once went and played Office Trivia and lost to a team of like fucking 35 people and then demanded a recount. Actually, that was mostly me.
I actually brought this up to I was talking to someone today, and I brought up the fact that it was a coworker, and I brought up the fact that we did, like, this time last year, I think, went to that trivia night at that barbecue place, and we got there and find out that there's no fucking cap on the amount of people could be on a team,
Yeah.
and they have these giant row booths where
Like
this
literally a good quarter of the restaurant was made up of one team.
Oh yeah, it had to be at least
That's
12,
ridiculous.
12 people at
Yeah.
least. Yeah, I'm like, how the fuck, like, are you going to allow that?
They didn't break the trivia group up into like the A team, the B team, and like the fun team.
Nope.
No,
No.
and I'm also, I can't prove this, but I'm pretty sure they Googled everything.
Yes.
Perhaps they had CIA help. I'm not sure.
Right. Now,
The
personally,
investigation is ongoing.
I think it's the time traveling child molesters from the intergalactic space demons. That's what I think.
Okay.
Well,
I
I like that theory.
Or
We'll go with that.
yes, or Zorp the lizard god. Either or, the jury's still out.
Shh, he is legend.
But you know what? We're not going to spend this episode bitching and moaning about shit that
we're
happened.
not
how
going
you
to relitigate
lost.
the past that was so horrendously taken from us.
Right, and the prize was like a $15 gift card or some shit to like.
That they had to
Barbecue
split
restaurant.
between 35 people.
Yes. Yes, they could all order one French fry piece.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite running gags? The Office is pretty famous for its running gags and like reoccurring jokes. Did you have any that were that are the most memorable to you? Excuse me.
So let me go ahead and put this out there. My memory is shit. So it's a real good thing that David called me in right now because it's still fresh on my mind. Because I don't remember anything. Yeah. That's always fine. The one redeeming quality about Pam and Jim is that they're always out to play pranks on Dwight.
Mhm.
And they're always up to see who can top each other. Which is fantastic.
Okay, so you're
don't
encouraging
have any.
Jim's antisocial sociopathy. That's interesting.
Jim dressing up as Dwight is still the best thing in the entire world. Like,
isn't it great?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Identity theft is not a joke.
The best is like with his talking head and his fucking like Casio watch, and he's like, and it only took beep 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 $13 to complete the entire ensemble. And so fucking good.
Yeah.
So basically, like, would you say the pranks,
the
Jim pranks on Dwight,
and then of course like the saga of Angela and all of her cats, all of them,
right?
Everything that's going on with them.
Yeah, that did.
I don't know if that's supposed to be like a running joke or a running gag, but it's fantastic.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a running gag or joke, or I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's definitely a running something.
Yeah,
like a running theme or a subplot storyline. I mean, like, it never gets too in depth, but like she's always talking about her cats, and it kind of crescendos pretty hilariously, like with Oscar, like adopting that one cat. I forget what was it, Comstock? That his name, Ted? Yeah,
sure.
And like, he adopts him because that was the senator's the state senator's favorite cat, and right, and then it kind of ends with all the cats getting taken away from Angela when she
bags.
Right. She's like, how many did they take away? She's like 2 sacks worth.
That's not even a unit of measurement. I don't.
Yeah. But somebody did the math though. I think it ends up being like 28 cats. Because I think somebody, and I could be wrong. It's either 7 cats per bag, so it's 14, or it's 14 cats in each bag, so it's 28. But it's it's a lot of freaking cats,
right? Because like, how big are these bags or sacks?
Right?
Like, I mean,
well,
are they
show
garbage
them.
bags?
They're
are they
gallon? Like, don't they show it? Isn't it like a gallon? Oh, it may have been in deleted scenes. They're like black gallon trash bags.
Oh,
like the huge like garden, whatever black trash bags. Yeah.
I need to. One of these days, I might actually pick up the DVDs because I've heard that. I know most of the deleted scenes are on YouTube, but I know that there's all kinds of like other stuff like director commentary.
Well, there's a channel they're all on the DVDs, but there's a channel on YouTube that's nothing but like the season like deleted scenes that you can watch. You can watch them in order.
Okay.
But so like every good binge watcher, I finished The Office and now I'm going back and watching them again and watching all the deleted scenes like in order.
Gotcha.
As I'm watching.
Yeah.
Because it really is. It's like if you love The Office and you're like, oh, I wish there was more, watch the deleted scenes because it's like 10, 15 to 30 minutes of deleted scenes.
Yeah, it's
in
a lot.
Every episode. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of math, Ted, I think we talked about this, but the guy that actually did the math on how much it costs Jim to pull all the pranks on Dwight from season 1 through 9. Did I tell you about that? Or did we talk about that?
No, but I'm sort of familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, like he actually, when I came across the article, it was a couple years ago. When I came across the article, he actually uploaded the Google spreadsheet that he created that broke down all the costs from every single prank that he pulled, and like he had just paragraphs of detailed information about how he like his citing his sources and stuff, like doing research on where he would buy like such and such materials to do this. And so I forget exactly what the amount was and certain details, but it came out to be like 15 or 20 grand that he spent over the course of like 9 years pulling pranks on Dwight. It was so
worth it.
But like the dedication that it takes for someone to do that, I'm like, oh, I thought I had like no life.
Well, and some of these pranks he's been like planning for years.
Right.
Like the one that like Pam like completely foils because he was going to add a key like once he became like the building manager or own the property, and he had all the keys, and Jim was just going to add a key every day.
Right.
For like a year. Just to watch his pants fall down. He's like, I've been planning this prank for years, Pam.
I think some of the, and I'll get back to this, I think some of the best pranks are the ones that never actually played out.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your favorite. Do you have a favorite prank, or at least a couple favorites?
I'm telling you, my memory's shit.
We can come back to you.
Yeah, we can
Ted, do you have
I'll just
a
nod
favorite
and smile
prank
and agree.
or a couple of favorites?
The time traveling CIA printer.
That's right.
The time traveling CIA printer.
Where Jim is sending him. Well, it's actually I guess it's two different pranks. There's one where he's sending him Dwight messages from Dwight in the future.
Right, from himself, from the future. Right. Yeah.
And then the like the CIA prank where he sends him messages. I believe it's also on the printer that are supposed to be like where he gets him up to the roof because they're going to send a helicopter for him.
Right, and he's like, mission compromised, destroy your phone.
He like, off the fucking roof. Yeah.
So fucking good. I mean, I can't say this is my favorite prank because it did materialize, but we didn't actually get to watch it. And this kind of ties back to what I was saying just a second ago about pranks that they talk about but never actually got to see. It's the one I think it was in Conflict Resolution when they were going through Toby's big ass box of like complaints that people had against one another.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're hearing about all these pranks that Jim pulled on Dwight one after another.
Yeah.
And he gets the one about the nickels in his phone headset where he adds like a nickel like every day and then takes them all out one day and he smacks himself in the fucking head. Like, I was like, I want to see that so fucking bad, but like just being able to know that it was a thing like was enough for me. Yeah. Fuck. That was funny shit. That's something that we can kind of talk about for a while is the fact that like season 1 and 2 put together is better than the rest of the series. Right?
That is wrong because the first season is, in fact, not that good.
Michael is so cringeworthy in the first season.
6 episodes are like uncomfortable. They're almost as bad as the first season of Parks and Rec.
See, I don't really agree with that too much.
Well, it's okay to be wrong.
You know what? Go fuck yourself. Like Parks and Rec. Okay, I don't want to go down a Parks and Rec rabbit hole because, like I said, this is not the show that we're talking about. But like Parks and Rec, like I am not disagreeing that the first season wasn't
terrible.
I'm not saying that it wasn't terrible, but I'm definitely not saying it was worse than the first season of The Office. Like, yeah, let's just push past this.
I will say though, the I think it's the season finale of season 1. The basketball episode is pretty good.
That is the second to last episode, but okay, yes, that is hands down the best.
I just want it noted that like David's not looking at notes; he just knows what episode is.
It's because like I am so fucking lame that like this is the show that is always on in our house. It is always on, and like it's like a white noise machine for us. It's what I don't know, but yeah, it's. That's probably the best episode from season 1. The episode with what's her name?
Amy Adams.
Yes, thank you, Amy Adams.
Purse girl.
The purse girl. That was pretty good too. I kind of wonder from time to time how Jim would have fared with her.
Better, because she seemed like she had it together.
You seem to think that he would have fared the best with Karen, or
yes, that's because Karen was a fully
Karen.
3D human being with goals and shit.
As Kevin would say, those pantsuits.
That's
Kevin,
not how I intended 3D to be taken, but there's that too.
Yeah, well, that's just Kevin being his creepy self. But
it's so weird to like watch the first couple of seasons and Kevin's voice isn't Kevin, and then all of a sudden Kevin's voice, like he talks like a normal human, and then all of a sudden he has like a lisp and like goes full.
Yeah, there are some
like
there are a lot of changes with a stark contrast. Like I want to say between season 2 and 3, and then and a lot of it is due to funding, honestly. Like if you go back and watch like an episode from season 1 and then jump to like season 4, like season 1's episodes, like they're so dull, like as far as the actual like lighting and contrast and everything goes, like they're just not very interesting to look at. It looks like garbage. Like no one did any post-production editing on it. But like if you go to like season 5, it looks like someone actually cared.
Yeah, although to be fair, I think part of that is it went from like the pre-HD to HD.
Yeah, I mean that definitely has something to do with it. It saw that shift in like HD quality TV.
It went from what 480 up to 1080, I think.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty drastic because like it was on during a very interesting part in technological history, like starting in 2004 and then wrapping up in the early 2010s. Like there was a lot that happened during that time period.
Well, and it's one of those things too, like especially watching it now instead of like when it first came out, because everybody just talks about The Office and how it's The Office and it's always been one of those things and it's always been around. And then the first few seasons, because it's 2004, there's flip phones and you're like,
right.
Oh
yeah, those were a thing.
And like, you know, when Pam gets the new computer, it's the old school like iMac computer. It's not even, you know,
right.
You're just like, oh, I guess this was, but it holds up. Most of it holds up, regardless of the fact that they have flip phones.
Yeah. I mean, and that's gonna happen in any TV show, any movie. It's just unavoidable. Like
it just seems like it's still so relevant, and like it just ended like yesterday, and it, you know, it's still like going on. But then you go back and you actually watch it, and you're like, oh yeah, this was 15 years ago, and I'm old, and what the hell. Yeah.
Right. Ted, did you have any other like favorites that you can think of to ask Amanda, like as far as you know, favorite parts of the show, elements of the show?
What was your favorite cold open, and why was it Kevin's chili?
Yeah.
And why was it what?
Kevin spilling the chili.
Remember, it's his voiceover. He's like, the key is to undercook the onions. Everyone gets to know each other in the pot. And like, he's narrating this with a voiceover, and all the while he's spilling his fucking chili on the floor and trying to scoop it back up in the pot. She's dead.
So I always thought, because like, you know, there's the Funko Pop of Kevin with the chili, and there's all this stuff about Kevin the chili and the memes and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a great episode, and it's just a cold open. That's it. That's all it is. There's nothing else to it. It's fantastic. It makes it even better.
Right. That's what's so great. Yeah, that's what's so great about a lot of the cold opens in the show, is that a lot of them, don't have anything to do with the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Like they don't relate to each other
Nothing.
at all. Like sometimes they do, but every once in a while you get one like this where it just has zero tie-in to the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the context with Kevin bringing in this big thing of chili? But other than that, do you have a favorite cold open?
I mean,
or a couple
it has to be Dwight, heating up the handle for the fire safety, for the fire.
Another excellent choice. Yeah.
That is.
And I know that's like the
cold
easy
open.
go-to, but God bless, it's so good. It's so good.
It's brilliant.
Those episodes, the safety training episodes, are 2 of the top 3 in this series. In my opinion.
That and it's not just the cold open, like Ted said. It's because that's the episode where Dwight cuts the face off of the mannequin,
which is the single
dummy.
best scene in the whole show.
Now we harvest the organs.
Petties.
So I had to do CPR training the other day because I work at a hospital, and I'm like, I'm doing it with my friend Olivia, and I'm like, I can take the face off. I tried so hard. Yeah.
So when someone asks,
I'm like, oh my God, I can actually do this. Hang on.
So did when someone asked,
I'm pretty sure I broke it. I don't care.
Did someone ask like, okay, what do we do next? And you were like, we check for an organ donor card.
There's no wallet. I already checked.
It's just like a quick cut from that scene to like they're in downtown Manhattan again, and he's like, "Did you really have to cut the face off the fucking mannequin?"
Yeah.
So that scene is like 5 minutes longer. Like that, those episodes have like 30 or 40 minutes of deleted scenes.
Right.
That should have just been left in. It should have been a 3-part episode. Like you can watch the deleted scenes as a complete another episode. It's fantastic. And my favorite part, okay, so we're just gonna go into it.
Yeah,
is it's a deleted scene, but Michael has a defibrillator because of Stanley's heart attack, and he's like trying to get everybody to touch it, and so it becomes a practical joke. They put it on Meredith's chair for her to sit down, and it's Kevin, and Kevin turns it on, and she comes over and she sits down. And she enjoys it. Like you can see she starts to smile because it's vibrating or whatever, and her hair just starts to stand up on end, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And she doesn't die. Nothing happened. It's fantastic. I'm like, it was 10 seconds. 10 seconds. You could have left it in. It was great, but no. I mean, they had to cut it out.
That's awesome. They, I was, I don't know if you've listened to The Office Ladies at all.
I've started.
Podcast. Yeah. They talk about how there's they would always write and film a lot more show than they could, and it was a struggle like every episode trying to figure out what to put in because it was just all good.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm pretty sure it works like that for a lot of shows, but I can imagine with this one in particular. What about the ending? Did you like the ending of the series? Did you feel like there was a good payoff?
So I probably have an unpopular opinion, but I really like season 9. Maybe because I didn't follow it from, I know, look at that face. From start to finish. It was such a good, and I didn't like it. Okay, I can hear Ted seating because of all of Jim and Pam and everything. But if you completely take Jim and Pam away, you have Andy who goes freaking crazy because he went on the boat and did the whole thing. And Andy coming back from his boat trip is fantastic. Like him being cool guy, trying to be cool, like nothing ever happened. I'm like, that's the best I've ever seen Andy. This is great. Like, why couldn't we just have him like this is the boss for the rest of the year? It was fantastic.
And then they promptly throw him under the bus.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, of course. I mean, what did you expect was going to happen? You work at Dunder Mifflin. That's just what happens. It's fine.
Right.
But I think it was the fact that everything wrapped up with Dwight. With Dwight and Angela, and they come back together, and they just kind of wrap it all nice and up, and you're like, yeah, it was great. So Arms, which is like the second to last episode, I feel like should have been the actual last episode, because that's where he actually, Dwight tells Angela that he loves her, and they all come together, and it's all nice and happy, and everybody cries, and then it's a year later in the future, and I'm like, oh well, but it was good. It was great. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
but I know from people that are like diehard Office fans from the beginning, you're not a fan of season 9.
I mean, I don't. Aside from a couple issues like some of the things that you named, I don't really take too much issue with season 9. Ted, I think, is a little different. I think, right, buddy?
They should have ended the show when Steve Carell left.
That is.
I mean, that's valid. That's true.
That is one of the quote unquote unpopular opinions, like the most popular of the unpopular opinions I feel like it's really one of those things that no one likes to talk about or no one wants to talk about because they don't want to sully the good name that is The Office. But let's be real, The Office wasn't the same after Steve left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of being generous with that because I think that after season 5 or 6, it just like nosedives in quality.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they started running out of steam.
Yeah, it's what industry peeps, I believe, call writing themselves into a corner, where they just wrote a situation that they couldn't really write themselves out of. And I mean, it happens. I get it.
I mean, it's that. Plus, there's really only so far you can go with that, and that's when the characters really start becoming one note. So
right,
they start recycling storylines. So it's it was Angela and Dwight are having an affair. Now it's the senator and Oscar, and now it's Angela and Dwight again, and Angela and Andy, and they start recycling storylines, and the characters become more one dimensional, and it just, like I said, I think they ran out of steam.
Yeah, I mean it's that's definitely possible. I don't know. I try not to think about it too bad or too much because I have enough things that depress the shit out of me, and so why add another thing to that? Like why?
I will say that I think season 9 is better than season 8. That's not saying a lot, but it's not the worst season.
Speaking of saying this season is better than that season, Ted and I'm not sure where you sit on this, Amanda, but Ted and I, we both believe that the saving grace of whatever season that came after Michael leaving is the fucking Lizard King, is Robert California. That was the saving grace of that season.
I would say that it was Kathy Bates.
You think so?
Yeah.
I like her character a lot, but I feel like they could have done more.
I think they should have put more time into her instead of Robert California.
Yeah.
But
I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like they could only get her for a little bit.
That's what it seemed
and
like.
So that's why they didn't invest a lot in her character.
Yeah.
I didn't have a huge problem with the role or lack thereof that she played. Like I thought that she was in it for an appropriate amount of time.
Right.
Would I have liked to see more of her? Sure, because it's Kathy fucking Bates.
Yeah.
Like she's amazing. She's hilarious. But I was like, I thought Robert California was fucking hilarious. And like I said,
he was great.
He's the fucking Lizard King.
Yeah. No, he was good.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm not a huge Aaron fan. Oh, okay. And whoever
finally somebody else has the right opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm not a big Aaron fan. She has her moments, like, okay, fine, whatever, but like I don't need to hear her whining about her relationship with Andy, and maybe it's just Andy, I don't know. But her and Andy and this and the other tall weird guy who does a fantastic
I love Gabe. You gay bastard, I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Gabe was terrible as well, except he did a fantastic Lady Gaga. So
that was
like he fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic Lady Gaga. Other than that, though, he was useless. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's wrong, but okay.
I thought Gabe like played that cringy like weirdo pretty well.
Yeah,
like,
but there's so many already on the show that you didn't need another. You needed somebody more. I don't know, not quite as cringy.
I get it.
I dig what you're saying, but they put all their eggs in the gym basket, making him the relatable guy. But he's not really that relatable. Like, it's we'll come back to that too.
Right. As far as Aaron goes, so I guess I am of the unpopular opinion dude here in this trio. I actually really liked Aaron.
She has her moments, but overall, I'm tired of her whining.
I like Aaron the same reason why I like Michael when Michael surrounds himself with idiots. Like when Dwight is busy acting like an idiot, all of a sudden Michael looks like a fucking genius. When Aaron is surrounded by Gabe, when he is acting like an ass, or when Andy is acting like an ass, all of a sudden she looks like someone who has some sense. Like, yeah, she's kind of like the redhead, like blonde of the show, I guess, like quote unquote blonde that, is kind of ditzy or whatever. But like, I don't know, I just like her because she's fun. Like she's like the innocent part of the show. But then like she has that hilarious part in the last Dundies episode where she gets up and accepts her award. She's like, I don't feel it, as she like dumps Gabe right there.
Oh yeah.
She walks off the stage and like Daryl's like, that was some cool shit. But yeah, I don't know. I liked her. All right, so we are going to dive into some unpopular opinions. Finally, we're going to do this, and then we're going to hit on a couple. What'd you say?
Because we haven't already.
We've kind of been
nearly the pre-game.
Right. That was the precursor. We've been
it's about to start hitting the fan here.
Right. We've been edging up until this point. Mm-hmm. That's a sexual term for you youngins. Nope. Why? So we're gonna do some unpopular opinions, and then afterwards we're gonna hit on some big picture stuff, as like why is The Office a big deal? So yeah, Ted, you want to hit us with your reasoning for why Pam is
the worst character? Yes, absolutely.
Go for it, buddy.
When we first meet Pam Beesly, she is a What?
It just sounded, you're like, since the dawn of time.
He's done so much research and put so much time into this to like.
Yes.
I feel like he needs.
The Beesleys have been terrible. We're focusing in on the most terrible of them, which is Pam. And so she is your typical, like, middle America receptionist. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? No. There's nothing wrong with that aspect of her. That's a very human character. Unfortunately, that's the only good thing I will ever say about her. She's in a dead-end relationship with a guy who I'm about 75% positive would go on to become a Trump supporter.
Are you talking about Roy or Jim?
Yes. But I was speaking specifically about Roy in that part.
Okay, yeah.
That dude is not a white supremacist. Nobody is. We can edit that out. It's fine.
Or not.
She has no direction. She has no goals. Her goal is to go to the mall with Roy in one of the episodes. That's literally... Or no, I'm sorry. The lake. Was it the lake or the mall? It doesn't matter because she's terrible. Either one of those is an awful choice.
Hey, she wanted like that house with the terrace, right? Like she was talking about in that one episode with Jan, which is like, I mean, that would be an illegal segue to talk about Jan, which
we'll get to her too.
Well, yeah. But that episode where they have like the ladies gathering in the conference room.
Yeah.
And she talks about like her dreams and aspirations, where she wants to become an artist, and she wants that nice house with the terrace and all that.
Isn't that sweet? What of those things does she accomplish?
Out of those?
Yes.
I don't think she does any of that.
In fact, you were correct, because she accomplishes nothing after 9 seasons, except almost cheating on Jim that one time.
With the boom guy.
Yeah. Who's like 4
That was a
feet tall.
terrible plot.
4 feet tall. He's taller than that.
Is he though?
I don't know. I don't know anything.
She fails out of art school. It's art school. How hard can it be?
Have you ever taken a Photoshop class?
No. Why would I do that?
I don't know. All right. Well, I'm not gonna play devil's advocate. I'm just gonna let you ramble. Keep going, buddy. You're doing great.
That's because you know she's terrible. She cheats on Roy, which even though he's probably a white supremacist, that's still kind of a dick. Just break up with him, right?
Motherfucker.
You're clearly unhappy. Just break up with him, right? She leads Jim along, which, to be fair, Jim also sucks. So I'm gonna give her a pass on that one. I'm gonna let her. You can have that. That fuck up is fine. She basically cavorts around, and like has this weird dichotomy where on the one hand she like wants all this attention, and then when she gets it, she's like, "Oh no, I'm just Pam. Tee. No, you're terrible. You're terrible." She puts up with all of Michael's bullshit. Although, to be fair, so does everybody else. So I can't come down on her too hard for that.
What were you gonna say, Amanda?
Everybody does. Everybody puts up with Michael's bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like it seems. I don't know why so many people put up with his crap, like just making everything about himself all the time.
Because the alternative is going to HR and talking to Toby.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to that guy anyway either.
Exactly.
Yeah, what a wet blanket.
I could go on, but I feel like I've made my point.
I mean, I'm not going to agree with everything, but I'm going to agree with a lot of that.
That's because they're facts, little man.
You know what? You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
But they're not opinions, they're facts.
That is your opinion.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to jump from this character to another character. We've shit on Pam and didn't say anything positive. Well, we said a couple positive things. Amanda, do you have anything positive to say about Pam? I feel like he's maybe said a few things in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't remember.
Dope. Well, I mentioned Jan a second ago. Like, so obviously she's a fucking psycho.
Yes.
But like, but like that's what makes her such a great character.
That is also true. Yes.
She is like psychotic, but there's a few parts where she looks like a normal functioning human. And one of those moments is when Pam, in that episode where, they're having the ladies, gathering, what I can't remember what it's called. Doesn't matter. And, there's the talking head with Jan where she's like, part of these meetings is to see if there's any potential with the women in the lower office roles for see if they have potential at a corporate level. And then she's like, so yeah, like obviously there is none in this room. But like there's that scene with Pam where she's talking about she starts talking about the terrorists and like the consumer level stuff. But she's like, but seriously, like I love to go to art school and I'm really into graphic design. And then like Phyllis chimes in. She's like, yeah, she's really good. And then all of a sudden she gets like really interested. Jan's like, there's a college reimbursement program or whatever at corporate where like, you can go to school and they pay for part of your school or whatever. And like Pam's just coming up with excuse after excuse. And Jan has this line that goes like, there's always a million reasons not to do something. And like every time I hear that line or watch that episode, I'm like, fuck, that's like some solid fucking advice right there. Like, and that's probably the most redeemable. I think she is in the entire series. the funniest is when she chucks the Dundee at the at Michael's TV.
That motherfucker at the TV.
That is a $250 plasma screen TV you just killed, babe.
Good luck getting it back on your $0 a year salary.
Plus benefits, babe.
Yeah, I think Dinner Party is the best episode of
Yeah.
the series.
So I read an article not too long ago about how they, like, a lot of the cast got together, like the cast, the writers, and they talked about Dinner Party and how they all kind of feel like that was the best episode of the entire series. And just because it had so much going for it, like it took place in the office and outside, like in another setting. It just, had so many other, it just was fucking hilarious.
And I think it's relatable because I think everybody's been in that situation where you can't get out, you're stuck. You've always tried to be like, no, I'm sorry, I got plans. And then you get roped into something and then you're there and you're like, oh, fuck my life. Why am I here? And you always try to get out. And then.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah. It's why none of us ever accept invitations to hang out with people, because it's much easier to just be like, no, I'm gonna sit at home and do Jack Diddley and not be in a weird situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What other so I guess more unpopular opinions. We kind of got sidetracked there for a second. I think Will Ferrell's role in the show was wasted. Ted, do you kind of feel the same? Like they kind of wasted that opportunity?
Yeah, I think that it's tough to replace a character like Michael, and they went in a different direction, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Where he comes in and he's like a different sort of boss, but he's still like a bumbling idiot.
Right.
And he still has a lot of the same sort of problems that the character of Michael had.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's just painfully unfunny. Like, one of the things that Steve Carell is really gifted at, particularly on, in his run as Michael Scott, is he takes these really awful, uncomfortable moments and then is somehow able to make them humorous.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a boss like Michael Scott for real, you'd shoot him in behind the building after work one day. You'd just be like, fuck that, and just boom, 2 to the back, and it's over. But somehow we keep coming back, and he's this beloved character on The Office, whereas Will Ferrell is just painfully unlikable. And then they injected the weird, he's a sexist thing in there, which I don't think really landed well.
Yeah. Wow.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a heavy moment for a show that doesn't really take itself that seriously, or at least before that point hadn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I don't feel like it was Will Ferrell's fault necessarily for this wasted opportunity. I feel like they could have written his character a little bit better, or just not have included him at all. It was everyone was super stoked for Will Ferrell to be part of The Office. And I think we pretty much all knew that he wasn't going to be the new Michael Scott. He wasn't going to be the new boss and forever and ever until the show ends. I kind of assume, he's a busy guy. He mostly does movies. He doesn't really do shows, except for Saturday Night Live. So I didn't really expect him to be on forever. And so it made sense in this capacity. But yeah, his character was kind of weird, and there really were only a handful of moments that were really funny. His interactions with Andy were pretty funny. The episode where he's like, oh, the Office funny guy, and he tries to get Andy to hurt himself more, and Andy's sticking his hand in the toaster and then pouring hot coffee in his pants, and he hands him like the dish soap from the sink, and he's like, "Here, have some soap."
Nope.
I thought you were going to say something there, Ted.
No, I'm just gonna let you have that one.
Okay. And then like I think it's in the same, maybe in the same episode where they go on the sales call together, but they stop off at the adoption place or the humane society, and he's like, "Here, take this dog," and he's like, "Give me that dog, you fucking thief." He's like recreating the scene where he like met Joe, where he like saved her dog from like some dog napper or some shit. Like I was saying, he had a couple moments, but for the most part, I kind of agree with this quote unquote unpopular opinion that his character was a little wasted.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think if they had brought him in as like a special, like maybe a recurring character, but not as the boss of the office.
Sure.
Maybe, maybe he owned the building instead of Dwight or something like that. And been like,
Yeah, maybe something like that could work.
Yeah. Where you're not trying to fill Steve Carell's shoes.
Right.
By repeating the same sort of jokes without Steve Carell.
Yeah. I think that's what they were trying to do with having him like a big name come follow like they knew like how the hell are we going to like play damage control after Steve leaves the office and in almost in the middle of a season, no less. So it makes sense why they picked him, but yeah.
I heard Steve didn't actually want to leave. They asked him to leave, right? That's what I've heard.
So
I don't know.
No, so
I haven't heard that.
The thing that came out recently, I guess for like the 15th anniversary, is he was he told his agent like, "Hey, I'll sign for this," and then they just never came to his agent to renew his contract. So he was like, "Okay, they don't want me on the show, I'll walk," and then he did.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. They should have signed that.
Yeah.
To kind of piggyback, David, I agree with what you're saying with like he was kind of wasted. Will Ferrell was kind of wasted. I think that can be said for most of the special guest stars.
Sure.
Like we mentioned that about Kathy Bates, like her character could have done more or been more. I also kind of think that Ed Helms should have been like a part-time character.
He initially was supposed to.
Right, and then of course The Hangover went gangbusters.
So. Right, yeah. I mean, that's actually why he took that, why they wrote him in that big boat ride in, I think it was the last season, where he's just gone for like several episodes in a row because they were filming the third Hangover movie.
I'm fairly certain that's why he goes to quote unquote anger management as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and also his character was way better before that.
But before what?
Before he went to anger management and came back. This is just like my tinfoil conspiracy theory moment, but I really feel like they rewrote that character because they were like, "Oh, he's famous now. We gotta," But the character, his like psycho angry character, was so much better than like the "Hey, I'm a musician and I sing and I'm a running joke about Cornell now." Like that out of all the characters, even some of the worst ones, like Andy is bottom 3 for me.
Is Pam still your top bottom?
I think that's a sexual thing, right?
I think so, yeah.
A top bottom?
She's a married woman, but
that doesn't mean that she doesn't get jiggy with it.
It does, but
I mean,
so is Pam still a little worse though?
Yes.
Okay. I'm figuring out the scale here.
Right. Pam sticks to missionary. That's how you know she's boring. As Amanda loses her fucking headphones.
Yep.
Fuck. Well, let's let's segue into talking like some big picture stuff instead of like just man, this is
Maybe it's
I
someone you don't actually like
completely
the show.
fucked them up. Whatever.
here, rotate the cup. Like
Here, fix them even.
here you go. Boop. There you go.
Everything's
Hey.
smarter than the machine.
Oh, can I have one more unpopular opinion?
Yeah.
I hate Kelly. All right, we can move on.
You hate Kelly?
Oh my god.
You're supposed to hate Kelly, though. That's why she's so good.
Oh no.
Is it because you think she's obnoxious?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And if that was the goal, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason I like season 9 is because she's not there. I think that's part of it.
And like the best exit from the show ever, as explained by Toby, which makes it even more hilarious. Where he's like, her fiance Ravi got a job as a pediatric oncologist in Miami. And then the next scene is her like giving all of her big coats away. And then it cuts back to Toby with the map and he's like, Miami. And he drew like a line from Florida all the way to Miami, Ohio.
Yep.
and he's like, on her last day, I was explaining it to her and she still didn't get it.
I think that sums Kelly's character up completely.
Yes.
Completely.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Ted was right. I think she was like one of the biggest writers, like consistent writers throughout the show. And she wrote her a lot of her own lines and parts. And she did that on purpose. Like she wanted to make her character really obnoxious. So people
really succeeded.
Yeah, she's
awful.
Right. And just the
Pam any day, all day.
Right. The shit between her and Ryan, like that toxic relationship where you're like this should be sad, but like it's so damn funny.
Yeah. Although the very last episode where throw the baby away, off they go.
Right.
Like they just perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
All
right.
Do we want to hit on any other characters? Maybe the fan theory that Toby is the Scranton Strangler, which is obviously...
I didn't even realize that until I started doing research for the notes I don't have in front of me. Right. I didn't even realize that was a theory.
Yeah, I think people just wanted to make something out of nothing because, I mean...
but at the same time...
Like, Nellie...
literally meets the Strangler, though. Like,
right,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, Nellie picks him up from the prison.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's from the hospital. I don't know. But she picks him up and, like, they wheel him out in a stretcher. Like, you see him being wheeled out of the prison on a stretcher. And he's got, like, the neck brace and everything. I didn't look too closely into this fan theory, but I don't really see what proof could possibly back this theory. I'm sure it's hilarious.
I think it's just like a meme that got out of hand.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And then someone kind of like rolled with it and they're like, what if? So maybe it was kind of like a what if scenario. But yeah, like some big picture stuff. I wanted to talk about like how the show became such like this big deal, like this cultural phenomenon, how like people just, I don't know, it's like one of those common denominators with so many people. Like you just don't know too many people that dislike The Office. And those people are wrong. But like I think a lot of it has to do with it being being on Netflix. Yeah. Like it's kind of like a multi-generational thing where it started out on basic cable on NBC, and then like people watched it then when it was on air, and then now that it's been off air for several years, but it's been on Netflix, like it's allowed people to that didn't grow up with the show to like now watch it. And
did you watch it on air?
Yeah,
like in real life. Okay,
so I didn't watch it from the very beginning. Yeah. I think I picked it up in maybe season 5 or 6. somewhere around there. It definitely wasn't at the very beginning because I knew about it for a couple years, but it was just one of those shows where I was just like, like maybe I'll eventually get around to it. I think I caught a few episodes, and I was just they were episodes from like the first season where you're just like it might
You're
hit you
kind
the
of
wrong
turned
way.
off.
Yeah, do what?
You're kind of turned off. Like the first season, if those are the first episodes you ever see, you're like, oh.
Right. Yeah, you're just like, is this how the whole thing is?
Right.
Because it is so damn dry.
Yeah.
And awkward. But yeah, like I don't know, Ted. Do you have anything to weigh in on here? Like, do you kind of get where I'm going? Like,
yeah, I think that Netflix is kind of a big reason why it got as popular as it did, because it was one of the first things I remember seeing, like when Netflix started getting really big.
mm-hmm.
Like The Office was. I'm not saying it was the first thing that Netflix ever bought up to have streaming, but like it's the first thing that I remember being like, oh, this is like a real show that's on here.
Right.
Because I don't know how many people remember this, but like I was a fairly early adopter of Netflix, and there was a lot of fucking trash on Netflix when it first started. There was some really good stuff too, like better stuff than is on there now normally, but there was a lot of like really, really bad, just like whatever they could get the rights to kind of shit.
Yeah. Like the stuff that was on there at the beginning, as like across the board, like original content, stuff that they like you said that they could get the rights to. It wasn't a great start, and like when you look at it that way and you think back to what was on Netflix back in the day when they first launched the streaming part of their service, you're like, no wonder Blockbuster decided to not take their purchase, or was it Blockbuster offered to buy out Netflix, or was it the other way around?
I think Netflix offered to sell to Blockbuster.
Okay. Like, either way, like, I mean, yeah, like what Netflix had going for them at the time was being able to watch any DVD, like have it mailed to you, like any DVD in existence. Basically, they had, and you could like line up your queue for days, and they had like the 1, 2, and 3 disc options, and so you could like have this awesome rotation. And then all of a sudden they launched the streaming service, and I remember like looking through it, and I was like, there is jack shit on here. Like there is nothing. And now it's like the opposite problem. Like here we are, I don't know how many years later, and yeah, it's the opposite. Like there's just too much stuff on there,
and most of it's bad. But that's not here nor there. Yeah, but like I said, I just remember it being something that's on there, and I was like, oh, this is like a real show. Obviously, it was popular enough to continue to get renewed before that. So, like, I'm not going to say Netflix is the reason it's a popular show. I also think it kind of hit at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I think it was just edgy enough to be like cool, but also like genuinely had enough funny moments to really hit as like a sitcom.
Right.
It kind of came, it was like post Friends, post Frasier, post like the real big sitcom runs of the 90s and early 2000s. And then this kind of comes in and it's like a different sort of sitcom, but it's definitely still a sitcom, and I think it was just new enough and just interesting enough. Plus, like, there were going to be the people that were familiar with the concept from the original British version that, came in. And of course, it's the first season of the U.S. Office is especially the first couple episodes are like heavily indebted to that. And then they started to kind of find their own feet, and it became a little more culturally specific, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Netflix is a big part of that. And also it sort of came about when like buying DVDs and like show DVDs was sort of at its peak.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. you were kind of talking about like it coming up after stuff like Friends and Frasier. Like, I think another thing that's similar or parallel to that is like the mockumentary style that was kind of like a new thing for the most part. Like, I think a few shows, few movies up until that point had done that kind of thing, but like The Office really capitalized on it and made it like their own. And
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, like it went into syndication pretty quickly.
mhm.
I know it's on like Comedy Central now, and Comedy Central plays it to fucking death. I don't watch cable that often, but like every time I turn it on the TV, like even just to fall asleep, and I'm like going through the guide, it's like The Office for 8 hours straight, and I'm like, that sounds terrible. To watch all those commercials with it, like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
God, that's another thing. Like commercials, like I haven't watched real TV in so long. So, like anytime I watch Hulu, because I have Hulu for free through my Spotify subscription, and then like so I'll be watching, all of a sudden like a commercial will come on. I'm like, what the fuck is this garbage? Like, what
what am
am
I,
I?
some kind of poor? I have to sit
What,
through this?
right, I was just about to say, what am I, a poor? Like, I don't want to watch a commercial for fucking Gillette or Dove or some other shitty product. Like, get back to the original programming in which I intended to watch.
Yeah. And one last point I want to make, and this was explained to me before I ever really got into The Office. I'd seen a couple episodes, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of funny.
Mhm.
But like I've never really been a big TV guy, so like I just I was like
Right.
whatever. Um, and I remember a guy that I worked with. He was telling me about it, and he's like, "Man, my wife is obsessed with this show." And like I said, I'd seen a couple episodes, and I was like, "I just don't get it, man." And he's like, "I don't either." And we were working at a distribution center at the time, and he's like, "She works in an office though, so she's like, it makes sense to her because she knows people that are like that, like some of
Mhm.
those characters." And I was like, "Okay, I kind of get that." And now,
Now you
over
work
a
in an
decade
office
later,
job. Right.
now that I have an office job, don't, I disagree. uh, I've never met anybody that are like those characters.
Well, I was actually going to bring up tangentially related point. One of the reasons why I think people really latched on to this is like, yeah, you're right. Like, these characters are kind of exaggerated versions of, people that would be in a typical office. So, maybe you won't meet someone exactly like Jim or exactly like Dwight or Angela, but like I said, they're kind of like exaggerated versions, and that's one of the things that this show had going for it was that it was relatable. Like especially the early seasons where the emphasis was on the workplace and the work life itself rather than the characters' lives, especially outside of the workplace. When it was just very self-contained and everything that went on in the show was in the workplace. Like people could relate to that, like maybe not so much to these exaggerated characters, but they people could relate to these people that had this boring job where they did something as mundane and ordinary as selling paper. Like people can relate to that, like but then there's the flip side of that where you have this job that's boring, but you also have the people in it that that make you not want to jump in oncoming traffic. that help you tolerate the job or even like it because in the case of Jim and Pam, like that's where they met each other. Like that's where they found their quote unquote soulmate. And um yeah, I just I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting to look at it from that perspective of I mean, we could kind of get pretty deep if we wanted to into like maybe some nihilistic or existential point of views with the show. But I don't know if we have enough time. uh I don't Amanda, What do you think? Like, she's like,
Yes.
You fucking lost me. Like, you bumbling idiot.
I didn't say that.
No, but I can read your thoughts.
It's assumed.
Oh, well.
It's assumed, yes.
You just have a Michael Scott moment. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, that's basically me. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Scott, what you gotta do? What you gotta do to make your dreams come true?
Oh God. Oh,
I skipped that episode.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like, let's talk
enough.
about episodes that we like. So
once is enough.
Yeah, like
Scott's Tots once and done. Like,
I
will never watch episode
every single time.
Yeah.
Ted, what's the episode that you skip?
I think I've only watched the first season once.
Okay.
With the exception of maybe like the basketball episode and then Purse Pro episode. Other than that, I can't think of like episodes that I've skipped fully. I've definitely skipped scenes. Like some of my least favorite moments of the show are when Erin goes to Florida and she's with the like the old lady.
Right.
I hate that so much. A lot of Andy scenes. Basically,
so
any
the 9 seasons.
Sam out to be anything short of Hitler, I will skip.
Jesus Christ!
So you watch about a total of like an hour of The Office out of all 9 seasons?
Yeah, I could bust it out on a Saturday afternoon, basically.
All right, so let's move on to a last talking point for this episode, and seems kind of appropriate. Favorite episodes.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, would you like to go first?
Sure. Do you want me to just like rattle them all off and we dive into them, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
So
one of my favorite episodes is where it's Dwight's beet farm and they go to the bed and breakfast. Jim and Pam go to the bed and breakfast for the first time. And he's reading him Harry Potter. And I'm like, I want to go to this bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
And I think that when Michael left, they should have let Michael leave and just have focused on Dwight and his beet farm instead of trying to just recreate Michael. And I think it would have been so much better.
Do you know about the spinoff that was temporarily in the works called The Farm?
Kinda.
Yeah, that was
what should have happened.
Yeah, it was on the table for a while, but they had a hard time writing for it, like making it like a standalone like spinoff.
They should have. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, they even set it up in one of the later episodes where.
Right. Yeah, that was going to be like the kind of like the style.
That's where they were going, like the end of season 9 with why they were going into the farm.
Yeah,
so much. That makes a lot more sense.
Right. You can tell the way it was filmed that it was just a little bit different than The Office, and I honestly I dug it. Like I would have watched it.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would have been fun. But anyways, go ahead, keep going.
Dinner party.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Yeah. Threat level midnight. Because threat level midnight.
Yes, that's it.
And I was hoping that in the deleted scenes, like it would show you threat level midnight from start to finish, and it doesn't. But apparently, it's on YouTube, so you can watch it all there.
Yeah,
and it reminds me because I just watched The Office. Obviously, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia came first for me, so. It reminds me of when they made Lethal Weapon 5 and 6. And so I had to know which one came first. And The Office actually came after Lethal Weapon 5. So Lethal Weapon 5 with It's Always Sunny first appeared November of 2010. And then Threat Level Midnight was February of 2011. But in the second season is when they do the table read, when they find Michael's script for Threat Level Midnight.
Right.
So technically, Threat Level Midnight came first.
Yeah.
Those are my notes. That's what I got.
That's impressive.
Yeah, thanks. I had to know because it reminded me so much, like watching it.
Yeah.
Reminded me so much of It's Always Sunny. I was like, I have to know, like, which one came first. So
that's very great, diligent note taking.
Thank you.
So proud of you.
Considering I forgot all the rest of them, that's what I have.
Yeah. You're doing great. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But and then there's so many. I mean, obviously, stress level, like, the stress relief, which is the 2-part for, the the fire drill because, dear Lord. And I don't know. It's so good. And then there's also, I forget the name of it. But it's where they're getting downsized again, or they're going to have to go to Stanford, or they're getting absolved or whatever. And so they do the party game, the role-playing game in the office because Michael's trying to distract them.
Are you talking about the office?
Yeah, murder. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was, there has been a murder. And Creed walks in. He's like, all right, give me a second. Let me put my stuff down.
Yeah, exactly.
And he like runs out of the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It was great. And I think I liked it because it was just Michael, like, because up until that point, he's been so crappy and so awful and so cringeworthy. And he just becomes human in that moment. He's like, I care so much about these people. I don't want to lose them. I don't want them to be stressed. I don't want them to think about losing their jobs and everything that's going on. And so we're just going to fuck it. We're just going to pretend it's not happening. And they loved it. It was great.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that is at its core why Michael Scott is a great character is because he is not just straight up dumbass 100% of the time. Like he has those redeeming qualities, those redeeming moments.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was that your comprehensive list or semi-comprehensive?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot more, but I mean, just watch it. I mean, pretty much all of them are in there.
Yeah. Ted, do you have your list lined up?
I'm going to echo Dinner Party and the Stress Relief 2-parter. I think those are the 3 best episodes. Aside from that, I think there are some really good episodes, but I tend to look more at like what are the best scenes or jokes or what have you, because I think a lot of the other episodes are fairly weak in a lot of respects, but have some
because there's too much Pam going on for you.
I wasn't going to say that it is the sole reason, but it's definitely a reason. Yes.
Are you sure?
But no, like I was saying before I got called out, I think that a lot of the best jokes are not necessarily in the best episodes, so it's kind of tough.
Sure.
Other than that, but I think those are the strongest episodes: Dinner Party and the Stress Relief.
Yeah, like that one. I can never remember what episode it's from. It's like smack dab in the middle of the series, and like they're having like one of those bullpen like spur of the moment office meetings, and it's like Kevin out of nowhere just goes, "Oh boy, what are we talking about?"
One of my favorite like jokes is from one of the Christmas episodes. I think it might be the first Christmas episode where it's like the party sucks and Michael goes to the liquor store and he's standing there and it's like smash cut to him talking to the cashier and he's got the box full of bottles of vodka and he's like, is this enough to get 15 people drunk? And he's like, 18 bottles of vodka? Yeah, that should do it.
Yeah, it's like 14 bottles, like 750 milliliter bottles of vodka, maybe more. They kind of look like the handles, and he's like 14 bottles. Yeah, that'll do.
I love all the holiday episodes. Yeah. I love that they do a holiday episode for everything. Like, is that going to be? I love it.
Is that going to be your new holiday tradition?
Oh, absolutely.
That's mine and Lindsay's.
I wish they put it out on one DVD, so I don't have to like.
Right. Yeah. We every year for both Halloween and Christmas. I think on Halloween day or at night we'll power watch all the Halloween episodes, then on Christmas Eve we'll watch all the Christmas episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fun tradition. It's very boring and lame, not unlike the overall theme of this show.
It's fitting.
Right. But yeah, so my favorite episodes, speaking of boring and lame, are kind of echoing a lot of the episodes that...
They're so good, though. Like, how do you not like, how are they not your favorites? You
right. Know? Like, so Dinner Party, we kind of beat this to death. Is obviously so fucking good. Jan smashing, throwing a Dundee at his TV. One part that
Her
kills
dancing.
Right. One part that kills me every time that we haven't talked about is when Michael takes the steak and dips it in his wine, and Jan's like, "Can you not do that? That's disgusting." And Michael's like, "I have soft teeth. How dare you? Like, how could you say that?" And like the scene where Jim is in the bathroom and he's talking to the cameraman, and he's like, "So it appears that Jan and Michael are both playing this game called Let's See How Uncomfortable We Can Make Our Guests. So I'm going to make a run for it." Just the way that he says it is fucking perfect.
One of my favorite underappreciated moments from that episode is where Dwight shows up and he has the gallon-sized wine glass. It's never mentioned. It's like a visual gag that he has it in the back. And I think the most obvious part, or the most obvious moment where you can see it, is where he's like, the relationship is purely carnal, and that's all you need to know, and just takes a big drink out of it. It's fucking so good. Such a great Dwight moment.
Right, yeah. And Jim's like, "So you used to be his nanny. Can I get? I have so many questions.
I have so many questions.
Right? Can I get your email?" She's like, "Email," yeah. And he's like, "Never mind." Yeah, there's a reason why people consider Dinner Party one of the best episodes or the best episode. Mm-hmm. There's a good reason for it. Take me by the hand, made me your man. About one night.
That's another weird aspect of The Office that nobody ever really talks about. Is it Jan committed statutory rape, basically? And it's just one of those things that no, that's gross and weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that they touch on it again in season 9. They kind of bring it all back around where with the white pages and to get the account.
Yeah.
And just sleep with the
new
young Tim.
Yeah,
that's her thing.
Right. That was a very, very funny and interesting callback.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of good Jan callbacks, like on Threat Level Midnight, where they find her outside the grocery store and she's just still talking about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, no, that's Karen's line where she's like, "You're still asking me about that a million years later."
Right. Yeah. But yeah, stress relief, of course, is another one. I mean, just from the beginning, where it's from the cold open, everyone flipping out.
Smoking is going to save lives.
to Dwight cutting the face off of the CPR mannequin. It's just, the whole thing is fucking classic. The basketball episode is I remember seeing, I can visualize the first time I watched that episode, and the scene in particular where Michael goes "in your face," and for some reason it just I don't know if it was just the day, the time of day, the scene itself, a combination of a bunch of things, but I was fucking floored, just cracking up laughing hysterically. But yeah, and then one episode that hasn't really been mentioned yet is the 2-parter wedding episode for Jim and Pam. Yeah, we've said some semi-flattering and some semi-not so flattering things about both Jim and especially Pam. But the 2-part wedding episode for them, I think, is... It should be at least in the top 10.
Yeah.
For the series. As far as payoffs go, yes, that's probably the peak interest level for between the two of them, and then it just kind of goes downhill. I mean, an argument could be made that peak interest level is way before that, when they finally get together. But they finally get married. That's what it's basically all been building up to. They finally get married, and it would be kind of underwhelming if the wedding episode wasn't all that great.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it was. And the dance that they did down
Kevin
the aisle.
with tissue boxes for shoes. Because I don't even know what the fuck happened to him.
Yeah, and the cut scene afterwards where Kevin's Yeah, my tissue box shoes were a huge conversation piece, but man, my dogs are barking. He like sticks his feet in the fucking ice.
Straight into
Is that the same episode where I think it's one of Pam's friends or her sister meets Oscar, and he's like, "Oh, and you must be Gil." Oscar's just like, "You think I'm with this?
This really?" And he's like, "You should apologize.
You should apologize to me."
Oh yeah, it's so good. And then like the preceding episode where they come back from their honeymoon, and Michael is talking to Jim about dating Colleen, and she's like, "No, you're not," and thinks he's just fucking with him. And he's like, "What color is your car?" And he's like, "It's a green Honda." He's like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
But the timing, the comedic timing and the editing of like the bleep where they bleep out his fuck.
There's a couple of great Jim jokes in that, like where they're telling Pam about it, and Michael's like, "Jim knew."
He's like, "Oh, barely. Frankie beans." Yeah, but yeah, the 2-part wedding episode, it gets me every time. It gets so emotional. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for all of our talking points, and we can move on to our shit that does not suck segment. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. So I have this new show. It's called The Office. It's fantastic.
Really? Tell me more about it.
I know, right?
Tell me more. Tell me more. Does he look like a bitch?
Yeah, his name's Jim.
I told you.
Actually,
you'd be a convert. I told you.
Actually, it'd probably be Andy. I think Andy's more of a bitch than Jim.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, but
yeah. I mean, he literally goes nowhere with his life. Like at the at the end of the series, he's like lesser than what he was. Like, I don't know how successful he ended up as a salesman or how successful you want to call him as a manager. Probably not very much. But he ends the series in like the admissions office at Cornell.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, at least, hey, all things considered, at least he's back, like, working at his alma mater. Like, it seems like that's something that he would be semi-content with.
Yeah. But I hear it's a really good show. You should check it out sometime. I hear it's on Netflix. Or actually, it's probably not at this point, but yeah. Whatever.
I heard it was on Netflix. Netflix and chill, baby.
Cool.
Yeah. Ted?
I recently watched this movie on Netflix called Den of Thieves.
Okay.
It's basically Heat for meatheads, and I am all about that. It's a heist movie. It's about bank robbers. I dug the hell out of it. It's sort of like a gritty action movie that, like R-rated action movie that you don't see too many of as big theatrical releases anymore because,
can't go to theaters.
Can't go to the theaters.
Well,
is that what you said, Amanda?
That, but mostly just because there's not a lot of money in them because they're rated R. So I'll go on a rant if we keep going down that road. But I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's a solid 3 out of 5, so to speak. It was very enjoyable if you're into that kind of thing, and I definitely am.
Dope. Cool. My shit that doesn't suck is the current run of Spider-Man that I'm going through. It's under the umbrella Amazing Spider-Man name, but it is basically the volume 3. And it's the one that comes directly after the Superior Spider-Man that came out in the early 2010s. And it's kind of like it is the Spider-Verse volume. I'm reading through it, and I can tell that a lot of inspiration was kind of taken from this storyline and adapted into the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse animated film. and which we did a watch along a few weeks ago. That's called a callback. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to read. It starts out kind of lighthearted, and then it gets pretty damn serious. So it's a good one. I might do a write up about it for our comic corner coming up. I already have my first pick laid out and started writing for it, so this might be a future pick later on down the road. So yeah.
All right, I have an actual things that don't suck because
You-
I
you
literally
do?
just remembered.
Okay, hit me with it.
Guns Akimbo.
Come again?
Yeah, Guns Akimbo. It just came out. It's Daniel Radcliffe, and
Oh,
he's got guns
I know what you're
like
talking
bolted
about.
to his hands. It's fucking phenomenal.
I've
It's
heard good things.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so good.
Ted, have you heard about this movie?
Yeah, I actually watched it last night.
Oh, okay. What did you think?
It's not really for me.
Okay.
If you you don't have to think and you just want to see shit blow up and action and a really hot chick that shouldn't be hot, but she is, it's fantastic. It's great. And then we went down the Daniel Radcliffe, slope, and we watched Horns, and that's great too.
Okay.
So there you go. Something
Dope.
not office related.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Good job.
I know, I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah. You helped put a nice tidy bow on this biatch, one that we probably could not because, well, I am a failure. And Ted, I won't speak for him, but he's also a failure. So we're
You
both
won't, but
failures.
you will.
We fail together. But Amanda, you come in here, tie it up nicely, whip us into shape. Should be here on a more semi-reoccurring basis. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you've made it this far, thank you, and I'm sorry. And like always, don't forget to, is that right? Remember to, God, I'm double negatives. It's too late. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere that podcasts are available. We are most likely on there. Don't forget to hit us up on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube once again, Twitter. And yeah, I think that's about going to do it. And we will see you there. We'll see you on another time. Right?
Sure.
Am I right? Okay. That's it.
That's not actually music. We have real music.
I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
She has heard like one episode.
I've heard several. Thank you. Just not the one I was on. It's fine.
Well, like I said, you lived that episode, so I would not
Exactly.
expect you to listen to it.
I don't know why you want to subject anybody else to my voice. I don't know why you had me back, but
David's actually a sadist deep down. He just wanted to kill himself.
I'll agree with that statement. It's fine.
He's a sadist. He's out there laughing his sick fucking ass off.